The FNAF movie is set to release this year after 8 long years of waiting. So today I wanted to discuss everything we know about the FNAF movie, from casting, release dates, plots, and more, with some new updates as of literally just a couple hours ago. So the first thing I want to discuss is the release dates of the movie, since that's probably the question most people are asking. As of right now, we don't have any real specifics on the movie release date. However, there's a few estimations we can make based on some previous evidence. For example, last year, one of the main creators of the FNAF movie, Jason Blum, went on an interview and told us that it was possible the film could be releasing in 2023.
On Freddy's, we are dangerously close. I will say that. We are dangerously close. So that could certainly be in 23.
Now, this clip was a little bit ago, so this could end up being outdated information that has since changed. However, on February 1st of this year, so in like 2 days, we know that filming for the movie will actually finally be starting and going into official production. Meaning this is probably the time the movie is really going to release, despite the 8 years of constant delay. And this also means that the casting, as we'll talk about in a minute, along with the script and plot for the film, already have to be completed and finalized too, because obviously they're filming the final movie. It has to be done by now. However, the filming process itself alone is probably still going to take a few months, just based on what I've read online, and then afterwards it's going to take even more months of editing and other post-production aspects of the film that have to be created before the movie can even think about being released to the public, which will obviously take a lot of time. It's worth noting down that this is being created by Blumhouse Productions too, though, and this company is generally known for their low budget yet high quality films, like most famously Paranormal Activity. So it's totally possible that with a lower scale production, the film could easily get out in a shorter time frame than probably most high budget projects. However, still, even saying that this film will be completed and released at all this year is probably a bit on the over ambitious side, in my opinion, because even when the movie is completed, they'll still have to create trailers and promote the film and have tons of people watch it through to make sure there's nothing wrong with it. And that's not even mentioning what could happen if something does go wrong and they need extra time to fix it. However, with all this being said, if we are lucky, the film may actually end up coming out this year in 2023. However, I would say the safest estimate would probably be closer to 2024, but like we mentioned, Jason Blum himself did say 23, so I'm more than willing to be proven wrong here. If it does end up coming this year, just taking a shot in the dark, I'd imagine it would probably come out sometime in October, because it's a horror film and would fit the vibe. Or if it comes out next year, it'll probably be more like the summertime. However, that's just me spitballing ideas. Give me a release prediction in the comments below to see if in the next year or so you get it right, and subscribe while you're down there for more stuff like this. Anyway, moving on, let's talk about the movie casting and characters, because there is tons of characters already announced. So Emmy Tammy is going to be the main director for this film, with all props and other stuff coming from Jim Henson's Creature Shop, which in my opinion already sounds like a good start. However, in terms of specific characters, as I've talked about in other videos, we know that there are 4 confirmed characters for the film. First being William Afton, being played by Matthew Lillard, Mike Schmidt being played by Josh Hutcherson, a new unnamed villain being played by Mary Stuart Masterson, and then there's also another unseen character named Abby who will be played by Piper Rubio. So far this cast already looks like it's going to be stacked in terms of actors, with Mike Schmidt literally being played by the former Shaggy actor from Scooby-Doo. And also the actual characters themselves seem really interesting as well, with some fan favorites like William Afton in the film, and also some new faces like this unnamed villain in Abby, who some people actually theorize to be some sort of rebranding of Elizabeth Afton, but we're not exactly sure yet. However, outside of these 4 characters, just a few days before filming, a brand new set of characters have also sort of been announced and rumored as well. For example, the media outlet Geek Vibes Nation, who have been correct in leaking character names and actors for this film before, said that another new never before seen character named Max will be in the film, being played by Kat Connor Sterling. And we were also told that Elizabeth Lale will be playing the character Vanessa, who we know most famously from Security Breach. Also, most recently yesterday, the same article leaked to us 3 more new characters. Lucas Grant will be playing a new character named Garrett, Jophia Love will be playing the character Ghost Kid number 5, and then another unnamed actor of some sorts will be playing Ghost Kid number 3. Now, I honestly have no idea what they mean by Ghost Kid and why there's only a 3rd and 5th one, but it'll be interesting to see what happens next. Maybe these are a reference to the children in the animatronics or something, I'm not exactly sure. Now, I would take a lot of these casting announcements with a grain of salt, because they are mostly just rumors as far as I know, and they aren't quite confirmed, at least the ones from Geek Vibes Nation. But if they are true, this is a very diversified set of characters for the film, featuring new but creative characters with also some fan favorites in the mix as well. And I'm especially interested in the new names like Abby, Max, and the unnamed villain, who people people originally thought was going to be Vanessa, but being that Vanessa was already casted, like we said, that can't be the case anymore, so that's going to be quite interesting to see play out, especially since the fact that they are keeping it hidden most likely means the villain is somebody who we already know inside of the FNAF universe, and they are probably saving it to keep things ambiguous and to build hype. But either way, I'm super happy with this cast list, even if some of the characters seem to be a bit weird and vague. But with all the characters and casting aside, now let's talk about the actual plot of the film. What is this movie going to be about, and where will it take place? On the surface, it seems like a simple question, but it's actually probably the most complex if you couldn't tell by the thousands of FNAF events that could be chosen to be created into a film adaptation. Now, the first thing we know about the FNAF movie's plot is that there are a ton of scrapped scripts that we can confirm won't be in the film at all. And in fact, Scott Cawthon famously made an entire Reddit post listing every single script that didn't make the cut, like the Silver Eye story, which I assume is a retelling of the first FNAF book, and other scripts like the insane script that focus on the funtime animatronics and action scenes rather than horror. Now, none of these made the cut because Scott is incredibly strict to ensure the movie is perfect. However, as we know from this Reddit post, the one script that he did approve was the Mike script, where he described the film idea as fun, it's scary, and it has a great central story. But we know now that over time while planning the filming for this movie, this script also went under, with them starting completely over from scratch. And while we don't know any specifics about the final plot of the movie, we do have a few ideas on what the new script is about. For example, in a Production Weekly article, the movie, that by the way is officially just titled Five Nights at Freddy's and that's it, is described as following a nice security guard as he begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. While spending his first night on the job, he realizes the gig won't be so easy as the animatronic animals that entertain the kids during the day play their own sinister games at night. And then another description by Deadline just reads, Five Nights at Freddy's follows a troubled security guard as he begins working at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. While spending his first night on the job, he realizes the night shift at Freddy's won't be so easy to make it through. So essentially, the plot of the film seems to be more focused on retelling the first official game to some capacity, taking place in the same Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, I assume is the first title, and sharing the main character as the nice security guard being Mike Schmidt. Now, this is honestly probably the best move they could have done for the movie's sake, because I personally, and probably a lot of others, aren't really that bothered about FNAF lore, or just straight up couldn't keep up with it anymore. And so having the movie be centered around the classic FNAF formula of defending yourself from the animatronics would probably be a great movie, at least in concept. The only thing that really confuses me about this plot is, of course, that for one, we don't know who half of the characters are, which could be a good thing if done properly. But also, we're supposed to see characters like Vanessa appear in the film, which, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't line up all that well with the actual FNAF timeline, but I guess does anything at this point. I'm not sure, but in terms of actual settings, we know that the film will be shot in New Orleans, and there's also reports that the producers are trying to get 1970s to 90s era cars for filming, which tells me that this movie is obviously going to be taking place in the past, but also that it's probably going to run on a loose time frame since they aren't trying to track down cars from any specific year or even decade, which kind of sucks because it means the movie may not be as culturally accurate to the timeline as it could be, but who cares? It's the FNAF movie. The thing we all probably thought was going to be canceled at this point, so I'll more than take it. Overall, the movie is already looking like it's going to be absolutely insane, with a stacked cast and a really potential-filled plotline. And it seems like the producers are trying to find a good balance of taking nostalgic, lovable themes from the original game to keep things familiar and on brand, while also bringing in new original characters to give the movie an identity of its own. I'd say the only two things that could potentially hold this movie back is one, the lore, because if there's too little or it's too convoluted, most fans who fell in love with the franchise would be disappointed, while if there's too much, the movie won't make sense from an outsider's perspective without having done your homework. And secondly, movies based on games just have the worst rep, so right out of the gate, this film is going to be fighting an uphill battle to try and make a statement. But let me know your thoughts on the movie. Check out this video for everything we know about the upcoming Ruined DLC for Security Breach. Subscribe to stay up to date on all the movie news, and peace.